Charles PEIRCE. He's probably the person that started, no doubt about it, pragmatism. He was the first, man. He started asking about what's the quality of redness? What is its existence? Redness. What is the feeling of redness? And then he said, hey, we need to doubt our feeling because we may have a feeling of something, but that might not be what exists. So he said, fallible. We are fallible human beings. We think we have certainty about our opinions, and then we turn them into beliefs and turn them into principles. Even science does this. But we need to question this whole kind of presumption. It's vain. It lacks humility. We are in uncertainty. And we pretend that things are certain. We want that stability of belief. So we look for things to reinforce the belief. We want our measures to be exact and have exactitude of measurement, but that doesn't exist, right? Peirce was a mathematician. He believed in probabilities. He knew the difference between correlation and causation, right? So we need to look seriously at Charles PEIRCE. Now, he created not one mode of being like Martin Heidegger, fine, but in Peirce, there are three modes of being: firstness, secondness, and thirdness. Now, firstness says, we have that feeling of what it is, the smell of a rose, and what is the color of a rose, right? And what is the sound of a train whistle, right? But those are energy waves, right? Charles PEIRCE knew physics, and he knew that our feelings aren't necessarily what's in existence out there. So he says, okay, let's go to secondness. And secondness is the idea of our experience. Like, you probably heard of William James, the experiencing. He was a psychologist, wrote a famous book about pragmatism, of which Charles PEIRCE greatly disagreed and renamed his pragmatism invention as pragmatism. Nobody ever uses that anymore. But Peirce had a thirdness, right? He said, okay, we get all caught up in opinions and beliefs, and we make them into principles. Peirce knew physics, and he was on the verge of the revolution in quantum physics, right? And he knew chemistry, and he knew the basic physics, and he knew the laws of physics. So he knew that, okay, our firstness, our feelings, and our secondness, our experience, that may not be enough to really have a firm grasp on being. So the third kind of being he called thirdness, right? And it's the world of laws and principles that we can verify by science. Not just any kind of science, but a kind of self-correcting, a gathering of inductive cases, looking at our deductive theories, looking at our abductions, our wild guesses, where we could use our intuition and question some of the accepted laws where people just want to believe something, don't question anymore. And he wanted to do more than that. He also distinguished between practical pragmatism, like for business people or people that, are not into the science. They just want to have their beliefs and be somewhat assured that they know what's true. And then you have the scientist who has a passion to know things. I think I'm more the scientist, that wants to have, exploration and have doubt about principles and beliefs and opinions, so I don't become one of those flat earth people, just to pick an example, or believe that, the sun goes around the earth. No, it doesn't. Anyway, so you want to learn more about how to do this, go to Together Storying, not story, storying. It's a verb. It's an action thing, That's how you learn, by action, by doing. You can learn knowledge, but you got to test it out. All right. Storying. Togetherstorying.com. And I got software to sort you through this. I got a whole bunch of pragmatist videos of different kinds of pragmatists. Check it out.
So, today we're going to tackle a huge question, a question about reality itself. And our guide is going to be one of America's most brilliant and honestly most overlooked philosophers. Get ready to question pretty much everything you think you know.
It all kicks off with this, a question that sounds kind of simple at first. Does the quality of redness exist when it's too dark to see? I mean, really think about that for a second. Is redness something that's just in an object, or is it an experience that only happens inside our own heads?
Now, you might think this is just some late-night philosophical riddle, right? But it's so much more than that. This is a really deep puzzle about the nature of reality. It makes us ask, what does it even mean for something to exist in the first place? To even begin to untangle this, we are going to need a map. And lucky for us, our map maker is a thinker who basically made navigating uncertainty his life's work. And that guide is Charles PEIRCE. Now, this guy was not afraid of doubt. In fact, for him, doubt was the essential starting point for any real discovery. So who exactly was this PEIRCE guy? Well, he was a true powerhouse, a scientist, a logician, and the founder of a whole school of thought called Pragmatism. And just to give you a sense of how intense he was, he spent, get this, 3 years studying one of the most difficult books in philosophy until he basically had it memorized. His whole big idea was that the meaning of anything comes down to its practical, real-world effect. At the absolute core of his philosophy is this one incredible idea, fallibilism. It's a simple but totally revolutionary idea that we can be wrong about literally anything. But here's the kicker. For PEIRCE, admitting you might be wrong isn't giving up on knowledge, it's actually the first step toward gaining it. So, PEIRCE breaks this down into 3 fundamental limits on what we can know. First, we can never have absolute certainty. We just can't be 100% sure. Second, we can never reach absolute exactitude. Our measurements can always get a little more precise. And third, we can never assume absolute universality. What's true over here might not be true everywhere else. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like total chaos, right? If nothing is certain, how can science even work? How can we know anything? Well, PEIRCE doesn't just leave us lost. He actually gives us this really elegant framework for understanding the different ways things can be. He calls them his 3 modes of being. You can think of it like a toolkit for making sense of reality. And these tools are called firstness, secondness, and thirdness. Let's break them down. So, firstness is all about pure potential. It's a raw quality, a feeling, completely by itself before we've slapped a label on it. Think about the sudden feeling of warmth, not the sun, just the warmth, or the specific shade of a color, not as a leaf, but just that raw sensation of green itself. It's pure possibility. And PEIRCE's own examples are just so vivid and sensory. He talks about the smell of rose oil or the sound of a distant train whistle. These are pure qualities. It's like the raw data of the universe before our minds start trying to organize it. Then you've got secondness. This is where that potential smacks right into reality. It's the brute fact of an event happening, right here, right now. It's not just the possibility of warmth. It's the sun actually hitting your skin in a specific moment. It's always an interaction, a reaction. Yep, secondness is all about that concrete, individual thing that's happening to you right here and now. This is the mode of actual existence. And finally, thirdness is the glue that holds everything together. It's the world of laws, habits, and patterns. It's the rule that connects the first two. It's the law of physics that says, hey, when photons of a certain wavelength, that's firstness, strike your retina, that's secondness, you will experience the color red. Thirdness is what lets us make predictions. Okay, so we've got our tools. Firstness, secondness, and thirdness. Now, let's circle all the way back and finally solve that riddle about redness in the dark. So, does redness exist in the dark? With PEIRCE's framework, the answer is just beautiful. Let's break it down. In the mode of firstness, yes, the possibility of redness, its pure quality, always exists. But in the mode of secondness, no, the actual fact of seeing redness needs a specific event to happen. Light, an object, and an eye. That event just isn't happening in the dark. And thirdness explains why. It's the laws of physics and biology that dictate the rules for that event to happen. See how that works? Now, what's so cool about this is that the framework doesn't just help us with brain teasers. It also gives us a really powerful way to understand the different ways that people think about reality. So, PEIRCE points out these 2 basic mindsets. First, there's the practitioner. Think of an artist, a business owner. They see the world as something to be used or made into something beautiful. Their goal is practical. But then you have the person with a scientific attitude. They see the world as a cosmos, a system to be understood. Their goal isn't profit or beauty, it's just this passionate desire to know why things are the way they are.
And this is absolutely crucial. For Peirce, real science isn't about having a big collection of facts memorized. It's an unstoppable desire to find things out, to chase the truth just for the love of it, whether it's useful or not.
And this brings us right back to the beginning, doesn't it? It all comes down to the incredible power of embracing doubt and being willing to admit that we just might be wrong.
I think this one quote just perfectly captures the whole spirit of Peirce's philosophy. The point isn't to be right. The point is to have a burning desire to correct your own ideas, to test them, to refine them, and to always be moving a little bit closer to the truth. So the biggest takeaway here is this: fallibility. Accepting that we could be wrong about anything. It's not a weakness. It's not a failure. It is the fundamental engine of all learning, all growth, and all discovery. It's what keeps our curiosity alive.
And Peirce's whole way of thinking really leaves us with a personal challenge. If we accept that we can't be absolutely certain about anything, it kind of invites us to be a little more humble, a little more curious. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. What's one belief you hold right now that might be worth questioning next?
And you can find more films about pragmatists, and try our new software where you can change your story in more of a pragmatist view. Rewrite it and rewrite it. It's free. Thank you very much.